Good morning and happy Friday, everyone. My name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. I am here once again to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. If you haven't already, please like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. That allows us to get more free content like this out to you on a regular basis. If you're not already a member of Occupy Fantasy, check the links in the description below. As a member, you get access to the model you see here, as well as a single and multi lineup builder. We have a private Discord server full of pros to help you improve your game. Also, follow me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. So if you are still playing NBA DFS this time of season, you are a little bit of a sicko, and I mean that as a compliment because I include myself in that category as well. I know I've mostly shifted a lot of my DFS volume over to MLB. But there's still a lot of edge to be had on these slates. So a lot of the pros who play high volume in both sports are mostly shifted to MLB. So the fields are actually a little bit softer in terms of how many sharks you're swimming with. But the kind of catch 22, the other side of that is we're dealing with tons of news, a lot of extremely volatile situations. Most of the teams have either clinched a playoff spot or they're completely out of the playoffs. There's only a handful of teams actually still competing for seeding, and tonight we have a massive 11 game slate. So this is going to be a lot to get through. I'm going to do my best to go through quickly. A lot of speculation, though. Definitely keep your eye on the news throughout the day. I will lay out situations where games actually matter. There's only a handful here. But yeah, let's get into this slate. I mean, 11 games, a whole lot of chaos. There's really nothing else to be said. Definitely, if you're not a member of Occupy Fantasy, though, this is the time of year where the model's even more valuable because as this news breaks, this is updating in real time. Um, so there's going to be a lot of players who probably wouldn't see an NBA floor any other week of the season. But we got a few of those guys tonight, and as you can see by the cover page of this photo, one of my favorite plays on the slate, Bowl. Not usually a player we're talking about in all that much detail. So definitely a lot of nuance here, but let's get into it. First game on the slate, we have the Detroit Pistons at the Indiana Pacers. Neither of these teams are really playing for anything. I know Detroit is tanking hard, though. They want a good shot at Victor Wembanyama. Super prospect. So yeah, teams are tanking to out tank other teams. Obviously, a lot of these teams are out of contention, have been for months. I also have a FanDuel window open and DraftKings window open, as well as the NBA standings on ESPN. But yeah, I'll talk through how I'm building on each side as we go through these games. But yeah, let's get into the team by team here. So Marvin Bagley is actually listed as probable. No Bojan, no Burks, no Cade, no Diallo, no Magruder, no Stewart. Omi Yuri left the game. I think in the first half last time out, didn't come back in. He's listed as questionable, as is Isaiah Livers. So what we're left with here is Jaden Ivey and Killian Hayes in that backcourt. Both have a lot of scoring upside, both reasonably priced. I really do like the price on Hayes over on DK where he's 5,800. Ivy a little bit expensive on both sides, but we have seen pretty big ceiling games out of him, and this is a good matchup against Pacers squad that is benching most of their team. So I like Ivy and Hayes on both sides here. Not going to put them in quite yet. Again, we have 11 games, a lot of spots to choose from. And then Marvin Bagley, actually, if he does get the start here, we've seen massive upside out of him. I wouldn't mind him in tournaments. Again, Isaiah Stewart out certainly helps his upside. But then, yeah, we have Jalen Duren at center. He looks good here, as does James Wiseman. These two have actually been starting alongside each other. I don't think we see that again tonight with Bagley back in the lineup. But whoever starts there in the front court is going to be appealing. And then even whoever comes off the bench, I don't mind either. I don't even know that I mentioned the spread. The Pacers are 6.5 point favorites, 231 point total here. So it is a healthy game environment. But yeah, anyone who starts for the Pistons, you can consider. I'd be a little bit hesitant to play any of the bench guys other than probably Duren if he's the backup center. But yeah, not a bad spot. But do you really want to clog up too many of your roster spots with the first games on the slate? I don't know that I do, but hopefully we have most of the news prior to lock so we can make decisions like this. But for now, no core plays, but I do really like that backcourt for Detroit. Over on the Indiana side of things, Kendall Brown, Chris Duarte, Tyrese Halliburton all out, TJ McCollum, Jalen Smith, Miles Turner, all questionable. So obviously, with Halliburton out, if McConnell's in, he becomes appealing. Off the bench, though, his minutes have been limited, so not a player I'm really rushing to get to. If McConnell's out, both Nemhard and Mathurin would be very easy to get to. I'd like both of them a lot here. They'd probably dominate the usage. Buddy Hield's not on the injury report. They don't seem to want to take him out, so he's still getting full runs, still a pretty good player. Obviously, very scoring dependent, though. But the most interesting spot to me here is in the front court. We have Miles Turner and Jalen Smith both questionable. If either or both of them are out, then I'm really going to like Isaiah Jackson here. If both are out, Isaiah Jackson might be one of the best value plays on the entire slate. So definitely keep an eye on that piece of news. If either or both are in, they're fine here. But I do like the Detroit side better than Indiana. Indiana, they definitely took their foot off the gas. They're certainly out of the playoff race, but they can't really tank as hard as some of these other teams. So they'll be in the lottery, but they're not going to have much of a chance at any of the top picks. So a little bit less incentive for them to take their better players out. Still going to see what they have with Nemhard, Mathern, et cetera here. But definitely keep an eye on that front court. Again, if Turner and Smith are both out, then Isaiah Jackson is one of the better value plays on the entire slate. All right, moving into the next game now. Another fun one. Um, we get the Rockets at the Hornets. 229-point game total here. Rockets are 4-point favorites on the road. Hornets, no LaMelo Ball, no Gordon Hayward, no Cody Martin, no Kelly Oubre, no Terry Rozier. Dennis Smith Jr. is questionable. PJ Washington is out, and Mark Williams is probable. So what's left here really is the way you're gonna kind of have to frame this. Svi Mykhailiuk's been solid, but he's kind of overpriced now. Very scoring dependent, does have a high ceiling. Would like him better if Dennis Smith Jr. is out of the lineup, but at the same time, he's just not a player you can trust consistently. Mark Williams, as long as he starts at center, is fine here. There's a lot of good center plays on the slate, a lot of good value center plays on the slate. So I'm not necessarily rushing to get to him, but where he is sub 6K in a plus matchup, I don't mind him. JT Thor could very well get the start at the four at power forward. Not a player I'm ever rushing to get to. He has had some decent outlier games, but with so many options on the slate, really not someone I'm considering. If Smith Jr. is out though, we could see Theo Maledon start, and I think he would be appealing. The issue with him though, like many of these other players, is he is now priced up around that 7K range. So really not something I'm rushing to get to. Could see James Boone get a start. Bryce McGowan's has started at times on the wing there. So really, I mean, there's a lot to like here. It's just they're all priced up. So where we were getting Svi in the 4K range. Williams is still affordable, but Dennis Smith Jr. was in that 4 5K range. He's now over 6K. Theo Maledon, even if all these guys are out, I'd still get some maybe if I'm playing a bunch of lineups, but at the same time, floating around 7K, he just really isn't a priority. So the Hornets, decent spot here, a lot of opportunity, but everyone is priced up other than Mark Williams. So if Williams starts, I like him, but not really a priority for me there either. Over on Houston, Deshaun Tate's out, Ty Ty Washington is out. That's really the only significant injury news here. So this is a team that's been taking all season. So their rotation actually looks similar to what we're accustomed to. So Kevin Porter, Jalen Green, both fine in the backcourt. Really not prioritizing either of them. Alperen Sengun, pretty high upside, pretty low ownership. Don't mind him as a tournament play. And then with Tate out, we should see small boosts to guys like Jabari Smith, KJ Martin. If Tari Eason slides into the starting lineup, he'd probably be my favorite Houston Rocket here. And yeah, similar to Charlotte, while this is a good game environment and there are some decent pieces here to consider, it's tough to call anything a core player a priority compared to some of the other values we're getting in other games. So well, I like pieces of Houston. I don't think you have to totally ignore them. It's just they're all kind of priced where they should be. So no priorities or core plays there, at least for me quite yet. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have one that might actually matter a little bit. The Miami Heat are at the Wizards. Heat are 6.5-point favorites on the road, just a 218-point total here. So Miami has a 5% chance to steal the 5 seed from Brooklyn. Just pulling up the standings. Brooklyn has a very easy game tonight against Orlando. As long as they win that, they pretty much solidified that's not this 5 seed, the 6 seed, excuse me. They solidify that 6 seed, and the reason that's important is 7, 8, 9, 10 have to play in that little play-in tournament. So getting that 6 seed, you get to rest like the other top playoff teams. So there's certainly appeal to doing that. At the same time, I mean, as the 6, you end up matching up with probably Philly. Philly really doesn't want to play Miami, so they're probably not going to play any of their starters against Brooklyn. That's a game that takes place on Sunday. All this being said, I do think Miami's still going to go for it here, even with just a 5% chance at that seeding. They match up well against Philadelphia. And yeah, if they could steal that spot from Brooklyn, they have a good chance to advance to the next round. We'll see. But yeah, if Butler's in, I mean, no injury report here. I imagine this team's going to be healthy though. So Butler, Bam, and Hero, all appealing options. Pretty low total. Don't love the 10K price on Butler over on FanDuel, but at 8,900 on DK, I do think he's a really appealing option. And it's tough to feel good about any of the payups tonight. There's a lot of good value that I'm pretty confident in, but at the same time, with not a lot not much to play for a lot of these guys. It's just tough to really prioritize. um, some of the other pay up options. So maybe we go ahead and pencil in Butler at small forward where you could get him for sub 9K. Over on FanDuel, I do like Bam Adebayo at 8,100, 7,600 on DK is fine there as well. Don't like that we can't play him at power forward anymore though, so I'm not going to put him in quite yet. Tyler Hero, very high ceiling, pretty low floor though, scoring dependent guard, another decent option for sure. So in summary, I think you go to any of the starters here. Wouldn't touch Kyle Lowry if he's in. He's one play I'm really not interested in at all. But Hero, Bam, and Butler are all decent options, especially Butler over on DK where he is only 8,900. All right, moving into the next game on this, or not the next game, same game, different team. Kuzma's out, Porzingis is out, and Beal is out, and Denny Avdija is out. So the four best players, arguably, for the Wizards are all going to be out again. We've seen some really big games out of guys like Johnny Davis and Jordan Goodwin. They're priced up now, though. Could still see getting to some Davis. He has been dominating the usage there, but he is a scoring dependent guard in a tough matchup, so really not a priority. Daniel Gafford's had some really big games lately, but again, tough matchup, low total, tough to really prioritize anything here. But I wouldn't fault anyone for getting to Gafford, Davis, Goodwin, or Wright. Even Kispert has some upside as a scoring dependent shooter, playing that wing position likely in the starting lineup. And then if Jay Huff were to start at center, he's had some really high ceiling games lately. He's blowout proof. I don't know. It's tough to get excited about a player like Jay Huff, who probably wouldn't be on an NBA roster. I don't know. Maybe he'd be on the back end of a roster, but he's not a guy we see usually getting minutes, except for in situations like this where half the Wizards' rotational players are ruled out. So maybe if Huff starts, you can use him as value. Probably not for me though. Goodwin and Davis are fine, pretty reasonably priced given their roles. It's just tough to get excited about any Wizards here, even with all their players out, because it is a tough matchup against the Miami team that is actually still probably going to be competitive. Um, all right, so moving into the next game here now. We got the Nets hosting the Magic, and this is a very interesting one. The Nets are 13.5 point favorites. Pulling up the standings quickly again, they're trying to solidify that sixth seed, keep Miami down in the seven. So they do have a lot to play for here. Two 17-point game total, though, another low total, and certainly some blowout risk where we're seeing a 13.5 point spread. So Bridges on both sides looks fine. A little bit overpriced for the matchup, just given the low total, but he does have a pretty high ceiling, as does Spencer Dinwiddie. Nick Claxton, Cam Johnson, more scoring dependent than the other three options, but another play I consider. And then Royce O'Neal, we saw Dorian Smith sit last time out. He is probable now, so he'll be back here. But even coming off the bench, we've seen some good games out of O'Neal. Issue, though, as is the issue with many players on this slate, he is priced up now, so he's kind of out of consideration for me. So I wouldn't mind Bridges, Dinwiddie, Claxton. Those are the three I have some interest in. Cam Johnson as well, but a lower floor than the others. So really nothing I'm rushing to for Brooklyn here, but this is a team still with something to play for. So keep that in mind. Now we get to the Orlando side, and this is where most of the value on this slate sits, at least as things stand. You see it reflected in some of the ownership here. But that is because Paulo Banchero's out, Wendell Carter Jr. is out, Markel Fultz is out, Gary Harris, Jonathan Isaac, Franz Wagner, and Mo Wagner. So pretty much everyone is out for this team. So what does that mean? Who's going to start? I think we see Bol at the four, Goga at center, Chuma probably at the wing. Wouldn't be shocked if Bol played center and Goga came off the bench. But again, this is all speculative. Cole Anthony, if he's getting full run, would probably dominate the usage here. I don't know that he will though, but I do think they're going to continue to feature Jalen Suggs. I'm going to pull up Suggs' game log. Yeah, so he missed a lot of the front half of the season. Very high draft pick, a player that I definitely think highly of. Only played 23 minutes last time out. Only been playing around 25 minutes as his team continues to tank. But he's capable of hitting value in that time. I'm going to check out Cole Anthony too. I'm imagining we see similar minutes on Anthony. Yeah, zero last time out. Not on the injury report though. So if he gets run today, I don't mind him at 6,100. If he's starting, I would feel a lot better about that. But the plays we can feel pretty good about are in the front court. So we got Bol center only on FanDuel, which is unfortunate. but at the same time, I'm going to go to him. I'm going to use him on both sites. We've seen this guy, very high fantasy point per minute producer when he is getting extended run, and I think we do see that from him here. There's really no reason for him not to. So Goga's more of a tournament pivot if you don't want to play Bol Bol. For me, I'm all over Bol Bol. Then we have Chuma Okiki playing the forward, likely starting. This is another player, very high point per minute rate when he has been given the chance to play. So I'm going to go ahead and add him in. Expect he should play over 30 minutes here. And even if this game blows out, there's really no reason for them to pull these guys. They haven't been getting much run all season. Might as well see what you have with them now. 3K flat over on DK. So really a no-brainer over there. And then on FanDuel, you could play both these guys with Chuba having that power forward eligibility. And yeah, both under 4K, so just really nice pieces of value. You see that reflected in the ownership though, but as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty damn good chalk. You could play two centers for Orlando over on DK. I think a lot of people will. I don't know that it's necessarily something I want to do, but given how cheap they are, I mean, you could really kind of go stars and scrubs. Um, Only playing around 20 minutes per game, but close to min price. I mean, it does make some sense. I'm going to leave him out for now. I don't want to use up that utility spot, but wouldn't fault you for playing both of them. And then I already talked about Suggs. Jay Scrub, I mean, this is a guy, his name is Scrub. Like, do we really want to use that guy? But at the same time, I mean, he does have upside. He is going to shoot the ball, should play close to 30 minutes. So another piece of Orlando you can certainly consider, especially if you're going kind of stars in scrubs build. Haha, no pun intended. But he makes some sense here as well if you're loading up on Orlando. But for me, the priorities are certainly Okiki and Bol Bol. Scrub would probably fall in line behind him. If I was confident that they'd give Cole Anthony or Suggs full run, I'd probably get to them before a guy like Scrub. But as things stand, Jalen Scrub is someone I'm considering. So for now, I'll leave him out. I don't want to plug up everything with Orlando, but he's a solid value play. And just to reiterate, Bol Bol and Chuma Okiki are priorities and will probably be in most of my lineups I'm playing tonight. All right, we got another game here that's kind of matters, I guess. We got the 76ers at the Hawks. Sixers are on a back-to-back, locked into the three seed, so they really don't have all that much to play for. Um, it seems they do want to keep Miami out of that spot, so I don't know. I think they'll rest their players against Brooklyn. So just off that, I guess there's a slight chance they let them go tonight. I think more likely than not, though, they just rest. Embiid is going for that MVP. It seems like he has it solidified, but it wouldn't shock me if they gave him like some run in the first half just to kind of boost that case. But at the same time, I don't know. I think it's more likely than not that we see a lot of these guys rest. If Embiid's out and Harden's in, you could go to Harden. Just don't be surprised if they pull him at halftime, as we've seen with some of these stars lately. Tyrese Maxey's going to look good here if Embiid is out, as will Shake Milton, Tobias Harris. Obviously, every single player in that starting lineup is going to see considerable boost if Embiid's out of the lineup. If Harden's out as well, then I mean Maxey, Milton going to look great. I think D'Anthony Melton's banged up. If he were to be in and those guys were out, he'd look really good here as well. But if all those guards are out, I'm talking Maxey, Harden, Melton, then Shake Milton's going to become very appealing. So this situation's kind of fluid. We gotta have to wait and see. They're locked into their three seed though. They really can't go either way. They're not going to fall to the four or move up to the two. Um, and then Atlanta, they are still kind of fighting for seeding in that plan. I think if they fall, then they have one less home game in that tournament, so they do have a lot to play for there still. The only player on the injury report right now for the Hawks is DeAndre Hunter. So just to reiterate on Philly, I don't know what they're going to do. If they rest all their starters, then keep it on that lineup. We're not going to want to play guys like Tucker, but whoever's left, I mean, if Maxi and Milton are in there, they have upside. Um, even Niang, I can't pronounce his name, but he'd have some upside as well. They're really going to be starving for players that can absorb usage. So keep an eye on that situation. If Harden's in and Embiid's out, you're going to be really tempted to play him sub 10K, but just know they could bench him early, even if the game's close. So just proceed with some caution there. Over on the Atlanta side, similar to Jimmy Butler, Trey Young's a pay up I'm actually considering tonight again. Got a lot to play for here, so he makes some sense. DeJounte Murray on both sides. If Trey were to sit, I don't think he will. Then Murray would obviously be one of the better plays on the entire slate. Capella, okay at center. I'd rather use the value. Collins, Hunter. If Hunter's out, that does provide a boost to Hunter. I mean, to Collins and Bogdanovich, excuse me, as well as Sadiq Bey. But really, they're all kind of mid-priced in a tough matchup. Even if Philly's resting starters, I imagine they play slow, kind of defensive-minded basketball. So, taking a look at the total. Yeah, maybe I need to eat my words. 236 point game total here. So feel free to play any of these starters for Atlanta. For me, I think Young and Murray are the most interesting. Not crazy about Capella with all the value we have at center. And then Collins looks good if Hunter is out. If Hunter's in, I would play some Hunter. And then Bogdan and Bay are just a little bit overpriced for my taste, but I could certainly see playing them there as well. So this game's kind of clunky. I know I'm kind of, I don't know, struggling to get through it. It's because we don't know what Philadelphia is going to do. Doc Rivers, not always a coach who leans on logic, so we don't really know what to expect from them here. I mean, you'd think any logical coach would just bench everyone with it being a back-to-back and them locked into the 3 seed again. So guys like Shake Milton could become extremely appealing here, but as things stand, we kind of have to wait and see, unfortunately. But I do like some Hawks pieces. Again, they're playing for seeding. Moving into the next game on the slate now, we have the Celtics at the Raptors. Celtics are locked into the 2 seed, so they really don't have much incentive to play their starters. And then the Raptors fighting with Atlanta for that playoff seeding and the Bulls there. So they're going to be playing hard here. But yeah, let's talk about Boston first. Looking at the injury report, we got Brogdon, Pritchard, Smart, and White all questionable. No Tatum and Brown on the injury report, but at the same time, this is another situation where even if they start, proceed with some caution. It wouldn't shock me to see these guys rested. Um, I mean, if they get full run, they're going to be good plays here. It's just tough to really trust. But with Brogdon and Smart and White all questionable and Peyton Pritchard questionable, I mean, who's going to be left in the backcourt? So whichever of these guys actually plays is going to become very appealing. Say it's only Smart and White and Brogdon are out. Obviously, Smart's the guy. You can kind of rotate through. If Brogdon and White are out, it's Smart. If White and Smart are out, it's Brogdon. If Smart and Brogdon are out, it's White. And then if they're all out and Pritchard's in, you could probably play some Peyton Pritchard and feel pretty good about it. Sam Hauser's going to have to take a lot of shots. Not really a ball handler, though. So I imagine one or two of those guards does end up playing, but definitely a situation to keep an eye on. And then Jaylen Brown and Tatum, I would probably rest them here. I don't know how deep this bench goes or who else they could pull in. Um, not a team that uses a lot of G Leaguers in the backcourt. So we're going to have to wait and see what's going on there. But as things stand, not crazy about Boston in a tough matchup against a Toronto team that actually has a lot to play for. But if a lot of these guys are resting, that should create some opportunity for value. So another situation to keep an eye on. More reason not to lock in all those roster spots on the early games. Over on the Toronto side, they're pretty healthy here. Otto Porter is out, but Van Fleet, Siakam, Barnes, Podol, and Anunoby, all decent options. Not really going to prioritize any of them. But yeah, if you have one of them in your lineup, I'd prefer Van Fleet or Siakam on either side. Those are the two upside plays. But we've seen big games out of Barnes and OG and Podol, and then Trent off the bench is fine as well, especially on DK. Only 4,100 does feel a bit too cheap. But how much we like them here is going to depend on the lineup that Boston rolls out. But again, this is a healthy team, price where they should be. So regardless, it's tough to really prioritize anything from the Raptors. All right, finally moving into the 8 o'clock window now. I don't know. I think we're over halfway there. Feels like forever. These slates are absolutely insane. We have Memphis at the Bucks. So the Grizzlies, 7.5 point favorites on the road in Milwaukee. Um, let's take a look at the standings. Milwaukee clinched the 1 seed. They have no reason to play anyone. Memphis still playing for seeding, I think, technically speaking. I don't think they can get the 1. I think they could maybe fall to the 3, but it would take pretty much a miracle for that to happen. So I think they're all but locked into the 2. Um, so yeah, let's take a look at the injury report and see if that's giving us any sort of hints. Yeah, it sounds like Memphis is still going to be playing most of their starters here. Don't be surprised to see someone bench, but as things stand, Steven Adams is out, Aldama is doubtful, Clark and Zaire Williams are both out. So we'll talk through Memphis real quick here. So I guess technically they still have something to play for. I guess they're playing to hold on to that 2 seed. I'm looking at the standings. To me, it feels like they can't really move, but at the same time, the injury report's telling us this game might matter to them. So I'll go with that. So Morant and Bain look good here. Jaron Jackson, fine. Tillman with both Clark and Adams, decent option, but not the best center value on the slate by any stretch. If we see Morant rest again, Tyus Jones would obviously become a very solid option. He is priced up though. So my favorite Grizzly would probably be Desmond Bain if if Morant is out. And then Luke Kennard's been banged up. He's no longer on the injury report, though. If he's in the starting lineup, he's fine. He's very scoring dependent. But tough matchup with Milwaukee. But again, Milwaukee has absolutely nothing to play for right now. So to me, I don't know. I could see getting to some Memphis. I'm a little bit hesitant. Can't really wrap my head around exactly what's going on here with this situation. Um, I've been told the Nuggets clinched the one seed. Yeah, they clinched the conference. So obviously Memphis can't climb, but can they fall? I guess technically speaking, they could fall to the three if they drop their next two games and the Kings win. But they're playing a Bucks team here who is resting. And get ready for this. Giannis, Pat Connaughton, Drew Holiday, Brooke Lopez, Chris Middleton, Grayson Allen. So the entire Bucks, their whole like 8-man rotation, other than Bobby Portis, is going to be out, um, which tells us, hey, you can play some Bobby Portis. Really like him on both sites. He is getting a bit expensive, but at the same time, we've just seen massive games out of him with only Giannis out of the lineup. So with Middleton and Drew out as well, I mean, he's going to see a ton of usage here. So um, trying to decide if I want to pencil him in or not. Let's check the minutes. So yeah, Portis pushing 50 points a game. I'm gonna go ahead and add him over on FanDuel. A little bit more expensive over on ZK as well, but it seems like they're giving him as much run as he can handle heading into the playoffs. I mean, he was a major contributor last year's playoff run, um, but I don't know that he's going to be as vital this time around. So um, maybe they're stretching him out to give him extended run in the playoffs, but at the same time, he's really the one player left I can really trust. In the backcourt, though, Javon Carter likely starting a point guard. We've seen huge games out of him, 50 fantasy point ceiling, which I know sounds insane, but he does have it here. Again, Bucks nothing to play for, but if it's all bench guys, they're still going to try to win the game. So not a great matchup. But Javon Carter is cheap enough on FanDuel for me to like. 6K on DK, a little bit tougher to stomach. I'm not going to click him there quite yet. Margin Beauchamp, if he starts, is fine. Jay Crowder, I think they're still trying to stretch him out a bit. Ingles, yeah, but who do I trust here? I trust Portis. Carter probably next, then Beauchamp. After that, it gets really dicey. Like guys like Crowder and Ingles are going to be in the playoff rotation, so I don't know that they get full run. Someone like Myers Leonard, I mean, I'd just much rather play those Magic centers. Then Wes Matthews probably going to get a start on the wing, but not a guy you could ever trust. Very scoring dependent, low floor. So love Portis on both sides. Really like Javon Carter on FanDuel. Wouldn't fault you for using him over on DK as well, but keep an eye on that Memphis lineup. I'm kind of hesitant to expect them to run out their regular starters, but if they do, they're really trying to hold on to that 2 seed. They need to beat this banged up, not even banged up, but this backup Bucks team here. So another situation to monitor. All right, moving into the next game now. We got the Knicks at the Pelicans. Pelicans 8-point favorites at home, 224-point game total here. Pelicans side of things, no Zion. He's going to be out for the foreseeable future. No Jose Alvarado either. I'm going to pull up New Orleans. I think they're still playing for seeding. Yep, right there. You can see how dense things are from the 5 to the 9, really. I mean, one game separates those teams, or two rather. But yeah, Ingram looks great on both sides. Really slow start in the first half last time out. I'd rather play him than Butler over on FanDuel. They're similarly priced. We have plenty of value, so he's pretty easy to get to here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Ingram over on FanDuel, where he's only $100 cheaper than Butler there. McCollum looks good now, priced over 8K though. Trey Murphy's had some really big games lately. He's fine. Jonas Valanciunas, decent option at center, but low floor as his minutes have been inconsistent. Then I'm fine getting to some Herb Jones and Larry Nance as secondary options, but no priorities. Really do like Ingram on both sides, though. I will emphasize that. McCollum's fine. Murphy looks good. Those are the other two I'd be considering heavily, but I don't know. The only core play really for me is Brandon Ingram. Um, and yeah, I think where he's cheaper than Butler on FanDuel, he's the play. But over on DK, where Butler's almost 1K cheaper, I'd rather go with Butler. You could probably fit them both if you're mixing in more value, though. Those are two of my favorite quote unquote pay ups on the board tonight, even though they're kind of more in like that mid to high range. All right, let's talk to the Knicks injury report here now. RJ Barrett's questionable. Then they're resting starters. We got no Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle's out as well. But yeah, it's Tom Thibodeau. So if a guy's going to be in and you trust him, he's going to get crazy runs. So Emmanuel quickly, 7,900 on FanDuel feels expensive, but when you look at the 9K on DK, it doesn't look so bad. So me, as someone who plays both sites, I will be much more comfortable playing quickly over on FanDuel tonight. Probably won't get to him on DK at 9K, but he showed last time out he does have that 60-point ceiling. Another good power forward option here is Obi Top, and I like him on both sides. He's had some really big games lately with Randall out. Much safer if RJ Barrett is out as well, and I do imagine Barrett sits here, so just keep an eye on that. Quentin Grimes, another player with a high ceiling. Not going to get to Mitchell Robinson tonight, given the value we have at center, but he's certainly viable. And then Josh Hart has been seeing his full run of minutes, even with the other starters getting rest. I mean, he's mostly coming off the bench when this team is healthy, so that's likely the reason why. But as things stand, I mean, Okiki's slid into that power forward position for us. I definitely don't want to come off Bol Bol. And then, yeah, I mean, you're deciding between Bobby Portis and Obi Top, and I think if Barrett's out, maybe you could pivot to Top in there. But if RJ Barrett's in, I probably wouldn't go to him. But over on DK, same situation. If Barrett's out, I do really like Obi Top, and he's going to be pretty easy to fit. Don't love that 9K price tag on quickly. I mean, he could pay it off, but I'm just hesitant to want to click that. And then Grimes is fine, Hart's fine, but not going to call either a real priority here. Oh, what a fun slate. Moving into the 8:30 window now, we got the the Bulls at the Mavericks. Bulls, I believe, are still playing for seeding. Yep, trying to hold on to that 10 spot, which they will, but I think technically they could climb into the 9 if they win 2 and Toronto drops 2. So Chicago does have a bit to play for here. Caruso is questionable, as are DeRozan. Oh, wait. DeRozan, Levine, both questionable, as is Caruso. So maybe the Bulls are just like, hey, it makes more sense to rest and play out of that 10 seed. They're going to have to win 2 games to get into the real playoffs, but yeah, if they're going to rest Levine and DeRozan here, then Vooch would look excellent. Definitely keep an eye on that situation. If Kobe White slides into the starting lineup for Levine and DeRozan, he has a very high ceiling. Pat Beverly probably gets to start at point guard. Never a fantasy player I'm really all that interested in. Just doesn't shoot the ball enough. But if everyone else is out, maybe he does see enough usage. But for me, keep an eye on this. If Levine or DeRozan are in, they're okay. Not going to be priorities though. But if both are out and Vooch is in, I do like Vooch. But at the same time, if they're resting the other two, I don't know why they wouldn't just rest him. Um, so yeah, maybe they pull him at half or something like that. I'd rather use the value at center today. The one play we're gonna have a lot of interest in if Levine and DeRozan are out is going to be Kobe White. So keep an eye on this situation, but right around 5K, he's a really strong option as long as a few of these rotational pieces fall off. Then over on the Dallas side of things, Dallas definitely fighting to keep their playoff lives alive. Given how much value we have, I do think Luke is one of the better plays on the slate. I'm gonna go ahead and add him. But at the same time, oh no, he's probable. Both he and Kyrie are listed as probable. On other slates where we have like Giannis and everyone else, I don't know that I'd be rushing to get to Luka here. But just given how much value we have, it's really just easy to get to him. So I'm going to be playing a lot of Luka tonight. Um, but yeah, just pulling up the standings quickly. I mean, they're fighting to get into that play, and they're still a game and a half out. For them to get in, they need to win out and have the Thunder, I think, drop 2. So the odds of it happening really aren't all that great. But hey, stranger things have happened, and tonight they're certainly going to be playing. I don't think the Thunder are on this slate, so they still are going to be mathematically in it tonight. So really like Luke on both sides. Kyrie's fine as well. Tim Hardaway Jr. looks okay. Not a play for me though. The Mavs are 11-point favorites here, which kind of tells you Levine and DeRozan are likely to sit. But yeah, they've fumbled these positions more than once. I know they lost some big games earlier in the month against Charlotte, and they wouldn't be in this situation if they were beating these terrible teams. So this game could be more competitive than it should be, even if DeRozan and Levine sit. So I love Luka here. He could hit value in 3 quarters. Kyrie's been pretty solid as well lately. A little bit cheaper. Fine as a tournament play. Not a priority for me though. Those are really the only 2 players I'm all that interested in for Dallas. They're just dominating the usage right now. All right, moving into the 10 o'clock window. I think we got 2 or 3 more games left. We have the Warriors at the Kings. Um, Warriors are 9.5-point favorites on the road. And we are looking at a 235-point game total here, so another healthy total. Warriors certainly a lot to play for, sitting in that 6th spot. Definitely don't want to fall into the play-in tournament. Um, And at the same time, I mean, they could technically climb up to the five. The issue with getting the five seed in the West is you end up playing the Suns in a 7 game series to open your playoff run. So not the most desirable position. But at the same time, they're definitely going to be playing their guys tonight for sure, and that is Golden State. So Iguodala's out, Wiggins is still out. Wiggins should be back soon though. He's been on the bench, which is good to see, dealing with some family issues. Definitely happy that he's back with the team. But yeah, Curry and Thompson both fine on both sides. I think I'd still rather pay for Luca. But if you don't want to pay up for Luka, want to go a bit more balanced, Curry makes a lot of sense in an excellent matchup against the Kings. Thompson, very high ceiling, pretty low floor though, as he is scoring dependent. Not low in terms of just generally speaking, but for that 7K price tag, if he doesn't have a good shooting night, that could certainly hurt you. Looney, Green, fine. Poole off the bench is okay. But yeah, I mean, really, the only players I'm interested in here for the Warriors are Curry and Thompson. But I will say all the starters do have appeal. This is a team still playing for a lot against a Kings team that should be resting most of their guys. So yeah, when we talk about Sacramento, they got 7 players listed as questionable. Like I said, I think technically they could climb back into that 2 seed. So if Memphis wins tonight and they're playing in an earlier game, or if Memphis is like pulling ahead, I think we see all these questionables for the Kings just become guys that are ruled out. If Memphis is struggling or losing, then maybe the Kings roll all these players out. So listed as questionable, we have Sabonis, Murray, Monk, Mitchell, Lyles, Herter, Fox, and Matthew Dellavedova is out. Shouldn't matter, but I guess it does. Um, so yeah, it's funny. The model right now, every player in it is pretty much listed as questionable. This is a situation we kind of have to wait and see on. Um, wouldn't do this normally, but given the kind of makeup of the slate, maybe I'll pull up the Kings depth chart real quick, just see who else is on this team because usually we go to guys like Davion Mitchell, Malik Monk, but they're listed as questionable as well. So Keon Ellis, if he were to start for Davion Mitchell, I guess would be appealing. Terrence Davis on the wing, Metu if he gets to start at power forward, and then Len at center. Those would probably be the value plays we're targeting for the Kings. But again, another situation we have to keep an eye on. The whole team is questionable, so it's really tough. I mean, if they do play, if Memphis struggles against the Bucks, they could go for it here against the Warriors. So keep an eye on this one. For me, for now, really not interested in any Kings, but I could see value opening up, which is all the more reason to maybe leave a spot or two open in your roster to make some pivots late. Um, but yeah, another strange game and situation. All right, another tough one to talk about. Moving into the last game on the slate now, we have the Suns at the Lakers. The Lakers are 10.5 point favorites at home, 226.5 point game total here. So the Suns are on a back-to-back. Coach Williams said there's a good chance they just take out the starters in half if they do play them here. They've been ramping KD up from an injury. I think he played 40 minutes last night, so he's not someone you could trust. But I think more likely than not, we see Booker start and then come out at half, and then we see Durant and Paul both rested. Um, but again, this is speculation. We're gonna have to wait and see. So any of the big names, I'm not going to be interested in for the Suns. But guys like Campaign, Landry Shamet could be very interesting here. Even Terrence Ross, scoring dependent, pretty high ceiling though. Wouldn't mind him or Josh Okogie if they are starting in place of these others. If Ayton rests, could play Biombo as a center value, but he's priced up a bit. Would much rather get to those Magic options. So another situation we have to wait and see. But as is the case with the game prior to it, I mean, there could be some really good value opening up. So maybe just leave those spots open. But again, not a situation we have any definitive looks on as things stand. As far as the Lakers go, I think they're still playing to try to get out of that play-in spot. So they'll be pushing the pedal to the floor here. We got Anthony Davis, LeBron James, D'Angelo Russell, all fine plays, kind of priced where they should be. None of them are really priorities for me compared to some of the other payups. They're just sharing a lot of usage right now. And if Phoenix is going to play guys, it's a really tough matchup. And if they're not, there's a ton of blowout risk. Austin Reeves looks okay here, or only on FanDuel though at 5,800. Not going to pay over 7K for him unless we get Davis, LeBron, and or Russell ruled out. But yeah, just another situation we kind of have to keep an eye on. If we're looking at the injury report, LeBron and AD are both questionable. D'Lo is probable. So if AD and Bron are out and D'Lo's in, I would like D'Lo a lot. Um, if all three are out, then I'd really like Austin Reeves and maybe Dennis Schroeder. Rui, if he starts, would be interesting value as well. But I do think this Lakers team wants to win. But if the Suns rest everyone, then the Lakers could probably pull out ahead and then rest their guys late in this one as well. So another situation that's fluid. These slates are insane. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning into this point. Just to kind of reiterate where I'm at on DK, we got Luca, Butler, Bobo, Portis, Okiki. We could go ahead and add Scrub even if you want from those Magic, and you're left with around 5,600 per player. Over on FanDuel, we got 5K left per player. That's with Carter, Quickly, Doncic, Ingram, Okiki, Portis, Bol. Um, Toppin I really like, as I mentioned, if RJ's out. But yeah, really easy to build tonight, but not easy necessarily to pivot. If you're going to be away from your computer, maybe just play guys in the early games and try to avoid all that late news. It's going to be tough, though. Quickly sorting by ownership, we're seeing the Magic guys up top, no surprise there, followed by the Bucks guys, Pistons. Whoever's healthy and in should look pretty interesting here, but that is the first game on the slate, so you're going to be locking up roster spots. Over on FanDuel, not much different. Javon Carter definitely looks better over here, as does Emmanuel Quickly, just given the price discrepancy between the two sites. I'm going to be paying a lot of Luca tonight. But yeah, it's more just a product of the slate and that we can get to him pretty easily. So even if he's not hitting value at that 12K price tag, he could end up as the top raw point scorer. And on a slate like this, that is what you're going to need. Once again, my name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. Please follow me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, check the links below to sign up to Occupy today. I'm going to be heavily involved with the MLB product as the NBA season winds down. So definitely hop into Discord at me, say hello. Let's have some fun tonight, everyone. Happy Friday. Let's